I interrupt your Independence Weekend kickoff to bring you a bit of a call and response. Now, earlier on the segment, we had a story involving the parent of a teen that was slain in the CHOP region of the former Chaz in Seattle. And we might have a couple of more stories, some short stories coming up right after that. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this breaking news update on Black Spring with Autumn. I do realize it is early evening or late afternoon for everyone. So, welcome back on this breaking news update. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we will begin with the call and response in response to Mr. Anderson's son, who was slain in the CHOP region. So earlier on the first segment of Black Spring with Autumn, I played for you. Shout out to Luciano. Thank you so much for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. But first, before I go into that segment, thank you so much for coming in. If you're joining me or driving by and curious about what's going on in this breaking news update, shout out to you, Chrysler Imperial H. Thank you guys so much for coming in. And I would like to take an opportunity, as always, to thank you, the loyal subscribers, as well as the patrons. Hope you guys are doing well on this beginning of an Independence holiday weekend. Call it July 4th. Whatever makes you happy on that. So hopefully you guys are off to a great start. So as always, if you, oops, not the right one. Okay, sorry about that. And now then that happens around here. But if you are looking for content creation, live streams, networking possibilities, and I think you will probably be well received in these channels, take a look at Derek C. Williams' Killer Whale Channels, The Angel Moonez Variety Show, The Definition of Anarchy, Sandy K, Chrysler Imperial H, Hardest Working Man in Moderation, and Little Miss Goth. I'd like to thank all of you for all that you do to support the channel. Also, another extra special thanks to Cold War Jesus. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this segment. So I do interrupt you with this intent to bring you a follow-up. So I'm just going to give you the brief follow-up on the previous segment. Shout out to you, Luciano. Luciano says the snowflakes are acting up at Mount Rushmore event. Law enforcement are in the midst of taking action, front page action about to pop off. Wow. Wonky stuff, okay? Wonky agitators. Shout out to you, Cooking Inamo. Thank you so much for coming in. I thank you guys so much. And for the housekeeping logistics, if you don't mind hitting that like button as you are coming in. And thank you so much, Jeff B. Thank you so much for coming in. This is one of the original, can I call him an OG subscribers and supporters of the Black Spring with Autumn channel. Thank you so much, Jeff B., for all that you do. Thank you so much for coming in. And with that said, we are going to go ahead and get into this clip. We'll do just a few seconds on the clip from earlier, just to give you a little bit of landscape here from Mr. Anderson, and I'll also I'm happy to bring you the follow-up to Mr. Anderson's appeal. So once again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.
I'm like, well, can I see him? Is it my son? Because you got to realize, at this time I'm going like, is it really my son? I want to know, is it my son? Because this could be somebody. Like, I need to see him I need to see him one time, just to make so I can see him. I couldn't see him that day. That was Saturday. It took all the way till Thursday. I just seen him just last week, just Thursday, and they had to whatever they did to him and make him so they presentable, whatever it was. But I need to, I got to finally see him, and then my in my heart I knew it was my son now. This is my son because, I wouldn't want nobody else's son. And man, this is incredible. These kids and the kids that passed, what happened the other day, all this on this child. Man, this is incredible. These are kids, man. I'm 50 years old. Man, these are kids, man. They should have been stopped this a long time ago. It's starting to get, excuse me, but it's getting to a point, where, it's getting. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Mr. Anderson. I can only say this as a dad. You want to break Sean Hannity? I'm a pretty tough guy. That will break me. Somebody did ask for this, and they need to come talk to me, and somebody need to come tell me something, because I still don't know nothing, and somebody need to come to my house and knock on my door and tell me something. But, I don't know nothing. All I know is my son he got killed up there, and he's just a 19-year-old. No, that's Horace Lorenzo Anderson. That's my son, and I love him.
I'd like to bring you to the actual response. Hope everybody's doing well on this weekend of July 4th, Independence Day. And here I'm bringing you the story according to theblaze.com. Now, this was written on yesterday. The father of a teen shot and killed in the CHOP/Chaz says Seattle mayor hasn't called him, but Trump has. Quote, he didn't have to call me. He didn't have to do nothing, end quote. This is from Mr. Anderson. Now I'm just going to paraphrase, jump around a little bit. And according to this, it's written by Carlos Garcia. He says the father of the teenager shot and killed near the Capitol Hill occupied protest in Seattle, Washington, says the mayor has not called him at all, but he has received a phone call from President Donald Trump. Horace Lorenzo Anderson said that he wasn't a political person, but it was clear that he appreciated the condolences from the president. Now, I'll let you hear those right now. I'd like to thank everybody who's joining us for this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.
I still ain't heard from the mayor. Incredibly, Donald Trump called me. The president of the United States called me today and talked to me today.
What did he say?
He gave his condolences, and but on this camera, I'll tell you right now, Donald Trump called me, and he didn't have to call me. He didn't have to do nothing.
Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Now, there you had Mr. Horace Lorenzo Anderson Sr. giving an account and a testimony of the president calling him. And this is, it's nothing short of incredible that find her a path to even extending condolences to this man. And I would imagine if she hasn't extended it to him, she hasn't extended any condolences for anything else. So what exactly is going on here? Is she afraid that if she issues, see, this is where I'm talking about the conflict of interest. The police you're breaking rank or breaking the code by at least extending condolences. Now that's just that's a gesture, a well-warranted gesture. That's a humane gesture. That's the minimal. And this man talks about how he was even him. Let me fix my little issue here with the camera. That they didn't. He didn't have just a dignified decency. I know. I think I'm having that problem all of a sudden. It seems like everything was going well until I started streaming. Who knows? Tell you because I think things are starting to. I think some desecration is going to go on there. I'm not sure if the guard or if any extension of law enforcement are in place. I would imagine so, because this was it Governor Kristi Noem. Basically, I think she's pretty much not going to tolerate a whole lot of nonsense. And I think that the president is actually going to be there. I'm not sure if he's there today and tomorrow, or it's just was me there. I apologize. Shout out to the Rapper 10,000. Thank you guys for giving me the updates on that. I really appreciate that. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for coming in. Shout out to Old Head Juice. Shout out to Jeff B. And shout out to Chrysler Imperial H. I'm pretty anybody that gets any of that coverage, if anybody goes anywhere near Mount Rushmore, they're going to censor that as well. So it could be a connection problem. To you, Spirit of Liberty. Maybe I will reset it and come back in, but I'm just trying to. $17.70. Are getting busier, and I do think that people are ignoring the liberal lunacy, and they are going on with their holiday weekend. And as you it's still pretty safe to throw caution to the wind around here. So shout out to you, Gary L. Youngkeast Jr. I'm really sorry about this. So let me see if I can change something with the camera here. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Let's see, I've got some comments here. It says, Crazy Chick Sheena says it's a hypocrite change a team's name, but keep names like Fighting Irish Democrats are hypocrites. Yeah, Crazy Chick Sheena, they are out of, they're pretty much, I don't know how anybody can take them seriously. I mean, I can't. But hopefully it looks like I'm not freezing as much with this particular screen. So what I'm going to do is I have at least one more story. This is just a breaking news update, because this was a story that I actually promised earlier today and I didn't quite get it in. So let me see if I come out of from read. There I go. So we'll take one more quick look. But there is another update. I did play you guys an update earlier on what appears to be the Chipotle situation. And thank you so much, Crazy Chick Sheena. I really believe I think you're correct on that. I think so. So we'll just stick with that for now. And what I'm going to do is take you back to the recap on the situation that happened. Apparently, this was a situation earlier from the Chipotle. Haven't been into Chipotle in a while. But I'm going to tell you, I was always I'm still under the impression that things are not going to be no matter how much we try to reopen this economy, that the evil is going to be lurking wherever you go. That I'm pretty sure, like because you got people that are coming out of desperation, or people that are still unemployed, or you've got a lot of things going on trying to bring people back into an economy. So I'm going to play that one more time. It looks like we have an update as well. We've got an update on that situation. So I'm going to replay that for those of you who were not here earlier. So shout out to everybody in the stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that clip for you again. Thanks so much, guys, for all your support and all that you do. And please, I really appreciate that input that you guys are providing on the community tab. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And I will have an update for you that very, very soon. And there will be some schedules and some updates coming for that. So for now, I'm going to take you to the incident that occurred out of Michigan earlier. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.
Please do something. Do something. Please. Who do you think you guys are? Who do you are? Sorry. I can do that. Call the cops. Get the license plate. Get the license plate now. Because you were never about to hit him with the damn car. Hit him with the car? Oh, don't get the car. You got this on video? Yes. No. Mom, stop looking.
Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Now, as you can see, that situation ran hot. It ran hot inside of the restaurant, which we don't have that footage. And then this is the footage that we get. So, I don't know. Here again, every time you see these clips, it's never at the very beginning. It's always approaching escalation or right at escalation, or somebody's always got a camera stuck in your face at all times. Well, it's pretty radical, the climate. And I do believe that this couple, I do have another story for you, a bit of a follow-up on this particular story. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And I think this story has a long way to go, if you will. In fact, this particular couple is already facing charges. Shout out to you, Crazy Chick Sheena. So it looks like the couple has been charged, and there's an attorney for the couple involved in this situation. And this was happening. It happened outside of Lake Orion Chipotle. And the attorney for an Independence Township woman, she was caught pointing a gun at a mother and her teenage daughter in an apparent racially charged exchange. Says there's more to the story, which I'm not surprised that there's more to the story. But how much of the real story will we get? I will try to keep you guys updated on that. But this is actually coming from WWJ News. It's coming from WWJ News, and it has the woman shown, which I think is kind of dangerous for them to be posting people's first and last names and their age. You see, I just think that we're at a precipice right now. And I do believe that when you put somebody's first and last name out there in a case at the very beginning like this, this woman also could be at risk of some more danger or more confrontation. And then yet they've been charged and she's got an attorney. Okay, well, the case is not closed. It's just at the beginning. So don't you think shouldn't her identity be protected and not just released? I mean, I guess all they needed to do next was just release her address and phone number. It's kind of amazing the way things are being handled these days. And I'm just going to check in here with you guys and follow up a little bit on that particular story. Shout out to you guys. Old Head Deuce says we all need to get out and express outrage over this lockdown. I want armed people to take out these fools. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Let's see. Well, I think we not enough people have pushed back on the lockdowns or the amount of inconsistent data that we've received. We're receiving incomplete data. Like, you can't just say data and then give no specifics. Who does that help? Here again, it's a control issue, a power grab, because as long as they're controlling the data, they can bend and twist this all they want. They can extend these lockdowns and suppress economies all they want. In fact, California, I think, is headed towards another lockdown. And they say, we got rising cases. Okay, are we talking death, or are we talking cases? I mean, where this is incomplete. You're giving pieces of data, but you're not giving the full data. I'm sure that data includes some chapters in between. I'm sure there's something in between. I'm sure there's something in between testing and first we were on death. We were full on death, and now we're testing. So don't we have a bit of a hole there? There's a bit. I mean, and then this guy Fauci. There's been so many inconsistent reportings and inconsistent guidelines. Wear a mask. The mask is not healthy. Half of the medical community has come out against Fauci, but he's still on the team. The only person that I've seen publicly or even on Capitol Hill go after him is Rand Paul. And Rand Paul is Dr. Rand Paul. So they're generally, Rand Paul is like, well, you know, you're always telling us what we can't do. And you're always setting us up for, you're not given the full picture. You're not talking about the recoveries. You're not talking about the percentage of the recoveries that we've had, the recovery rate. You give the mortality rates. But yeah, you know, it's getting, you know, it's a bit much. Yeah, I don't trust anything from the UN. I think the United States needs to get out of the UN. That would be the best thing to do. The UN, like many other things that came along, this is not, we're far beyond post World War II. We're beyond that. And but I think that's the fix that we find ourselves in. I think the whole point of what was the UN? The UN was actually established around circa 45. FDR provided the namesake UN, and it just seems that we've been globally conflicted and so entangled that whatever the original premise was to fight communism. Well, look who's been infiltrated by communism. You know, what was it? To avoid, you know, Russia from suppressing democracy. Well, look who's being suppressed right now. I think we've all been suppressed by now. And you know, I don't know. I just don't think the UN is not anything with the UN in front of it. World Health Organization, what Tedros Adhanom, and then I think the last thing that I followed up on was I think they were considering. I think Bill Gates's name has been dropped in the hat to be the successor of Tedros of the World Health Organization. Imagine that. You see, there's a new paradigm even at healthcare. You don't have to have any, you just have to be a powerful philanthropist or whatever and rich. You don't have to have, you can be a bureaucrat in any of the UN standards. Because Adhanom is not a doctor. The current World Health Organization, the Director General, he doesn't have a medical degree. He's also been entangled in other epidemics and pandemics, cholera, Ebola. So he already has a record of what can I say, crimes against humanity. So why are they exalting? You see how this criminal exaltation that we see, people that have have been associated or been connected with criminal intent or mass, you know, exterminations or derelict care for people around the world are being exalted to even more responsibility. How does that work? How does that work? How does that work for you guys? And Fauci is extremely arrogant. I'm really surprised that he's still around. I'm, you know, Birx and Fauci. I'm just thinking, the country as big as the U.S., that, you know, why didn't we have more models of testing and more models of results? Why didn't we have more than one type of model running concurrent so we could get accurate results? Or not accurate, I mean, I'm saying consistent. Some consistent results for something this complex, something this new, I think warranted all hands on deck, all of our resources. But instead, we went to the CDC, and you see what we got. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Thank you guys so much. So let me keep going here. Back to, may I digress? May I? Back to our little situation with the woman and the, I assume her husband, caught on camera. All right. So they've got both women both women identified. I'll provide this link in the stream for you. This is not a source that they have vetted per se, but it's very quickly coming out that there's an update. And of course, I'll continue to follow this story. Okay, so the woman has been identified in the media reports. Okay, so yes, the husband was actually the guy that was there in that video. So the couple is facing felonious assault charges, a 4-year felony. A 4-year felony. Okay, and so here it is. And this, according to this account, although it is not captured on the video, the prosecutors say that Mr. Wustenberg also had a gun. He lost his job following the incident. Witnesses say a shouting match broke out after Mrs. Wustenberg allegedly bumped into the teenager outside the restaurant at Baldwin and Brown Road. The 15-year-old asked for an apology. So you can read more about what happened and see the video. Well, we've shown the video. I don't know if they have a better clip than we do, or maybe we'll give it a whirl and see. Quote, video does not show what is behind the camera. The video have been edited, and the videos show a narrow field of view. That's according to the, end quote, according to the couple's attorney, Dean Greenblatt. That's what he told WWJ News. Greenblatt said, quote, a number of people were approaching the Wustenberg vehicle behind the mother and the daughter with the camera phone. So, okay, so according to Greenberg said, quote, a number of people were approaching the Wustenberg vehicle behind the mother and daughter with the camera phone, end quote. Quote, all those people combined with the mother that threatened the Wustenbergs created a sense of fear. Mrs. Wustenberg feared for herself. She also feared for her husband. Mr. Wustenberg lives with a disability. According to Greenblatt, they were parked in a handicap parking spot. Greenblatt said the teenager blocked Mrs. Wustenberg from entering her vehicle. Mrs. Wustenberg rolled down the window, apologetic with the mom and daughter. Nonetheless, mom and daughter would not let them leave. End quote. Greenblatt told the WWJ's Dan Jenkins. He said Hill got behind the vehicle as Mr. Wustenberg was trying to pull out, and then she started banging on the couple's car. Quote, not once to alert someone she was back there, but repeatedly, end quote. Greenblatt said, quote, there are 5 separate handprints on the car. Hill argued the couple tried to run her over. Greenblatt told WWJ Mrs. Wustenberg left the vehicle to defend her husband. Quote, she feared for his safety. She feared for her own safety, which is quite clear from the vehicle. If you watch the video, you can see Mrs. Wustenberg is scared to death, end quote, said Greenblatt. Quote, after she drew her weapon, she was informing on no uncertain terms the people who had the camera phones needed to stop, but they continued to approach her, even as Mrs. Wustenberg was backing up. Greenblatt said it is unclear how many people were in the group, but he estimated between 5 and 8. He would not disclose if any of them had a weapon. Several shaken bystanders called 911 on the couple. The Wüstenbergs were arrested at the scene. Fortunately, no shots were fired and no one was injured. Hill said she also feared for her life. Quote, "So this is America." Hill later wrote on Facebook about the incident, quote, I'll never in my life had a gun pulled out on me. I've never felt so helpless in my life. I'm so shaken up." Hill is black. The Wüstenbergs are white. However, Greenblatt said the media was too quick to paint this as a racially charged confrontation. Quote, "This really isn't an issue of racism," end quote, he said. Quote, "If we're getting to a point, if someone bumps into someone else of a different race, they're going to be called racist. That is a pretty sad commentary on the state of affairs today," end quote. Now, the Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard says it's clear both sides felt, quote, "extremely threatened," end quote. However, the prosecutors decide to charge the Wüstenbergs with a crime following an investigation. "The only right thing would have been to walk away," Bouchard said. Quote, "We see situations where the tension is very quick. People are on edge. There's a quick acceleration to anger and violence and physical violence," end quote, Bouchard told WWJ. Quote, "So I guess my plea is let us all try to be the voice of calm in the storm and remember each one of us is a human being that deserves respect," end quote. So I will be happy to put this in the stream for you guys. Thank you so much for coming in. So this is interesting. But I didn't play that excerpt there. So that is the story of the Wüstenbergs. It's kind of a long Wüstenbergs case there. So I'll continue to follow that story. I'm going to come back here. All right. Hope everybody's doing well in the stream. Thank you guys for coming in at such the 11th hour. All right, so I had a question. There was a question out there for me. Let's see. The Rapper 10,000 says, "What doctors who you suggest for people to listen to?" I hear you, Crazy Chickina. What doctors? Honestly, at this point, I would think that everyone would, if you know your individual medical history, I think would be important in a situation like this. If you have a normal, and what I mean by my definition of normal, if you've got an immune system that is not compromised, and this is not medical advice, so please don't charge me with that. But if you have an immune system that's not suppressed, and what I mean is if you don't have an autoimmune disease, you can have many things that can suppress your immune system. And you can even have a cold or something that could make you more vulnerable. So I would just imagine that you use the same kind of logic, that maybe you've previously used. If you're sick with any type of cold or allergy or upper respiratory infection, I would imagine that you would take extra steps or avoid some of these things. But if you have an immune system that is fairly well maintained, I would still say that you would still be, I might not be as cautious if I didn't have if my immune system wasn't compromised in any way. And there's tons of autoimmune diseases out there, and many people don't even know that they have the autoimmune diseases. So there's just so much we don't know about medicine. And I'm saying that no one has all the answers. And this is the other thing I say, whether you're spiritual or not, and I say this all the time, but my thing is only God is not wrong. You're at risk. We take a risk every time we get in a car. So if you are not compromised, then maybe you can use your own discretion. You might have the liberty to take a different discretion, but ultimately you're going to be the one to take care of you. Either way, the government cannot save anybody. The government cannot save anybody. They can't save you from a common cold. They can't save you from the flu. And it seems like this thing is behaving like the flu. Still appears to be kind of behaving like the flu. And we have flu season every year. We have people that become infected with the flu, and we have some that recover, and then we have some that are more vulnerable, that have more vulnerable systems that can't handle the exposure. So I think everyone needs to, I think you could just look to your own individual health. I mean, I used to hear the term, I'm not the originator of this, know your own body, know what your tendencies are. And if you're not worried about it, you know, if you don't need to be worried, if you don't think you need to be worried about it, then you should do what you think you should do. But if you get it, then you'll also have to assume responsibility for the risk you take, whatever you do. But that's not a new responsibility. It's just like all of a sudden, you know, the government wants you to look to them to not only make everything all right, but to make false assurances. They cannot assure you of anything. You got many accounts out here, the people that did everything followed every guideline, checked every box, and they still contracted this thing. So, but it's fine. I'm sorry, I went all the way around. What doctor? I might say at this point, you might want to talk to your own doctor. Check out your local stats. See what the hot spots are in your area. See what the numbers look like in your area, and talk to your individual doctor. And that's why I'm saying, if you do have a condition, that might be something you can consider. And there again, this is not medical advice. This is my perspective on. I still haven't said. I can't say a whom. I can't. There's just too much conflicting information out there. And but your body is still your body, and all of these doctors practice medicine differently. Practice medicine. And I think even Fauci says he's a scientist, but I don't know how much actual medicine he's practiced. I do think the CDC has very much failed in what they've been offering people. Very inconsistent. And you've had a lot of communities come out and say, a lot of the medical community has come out against the whole mask. I think the saturation and the oxygen, and I think I don't think it's the best thing, but that's what they're offering you. So you have to decide what you're going to work with. So I don't know. I will tell you, I'm not looking to Dr. Fauci. I'm not looking to him. I'm not looking to Bill Gates either. And I'm not looking to Adhanom Tedros, from the parented UN, their doctor. No, he's not a doctor. He's a general. He's a bureaucrat. Bureaucrats don't even practice medicine. They don't have any training. So there you go. I'm sorry. I hope maybe that's a bit of the answer. Somewhat of that's a response, but I'm just saying, there's just been so many contradictions to what's happened already. Not to mention the medical community that's come out against the information that's been put out. So yeah, I find it interesting what's going on with. How many times can I tell you guys that I've been bumped and somebody didn't say excuse me or I'm sorry, or how many times can I find that in my life? And I've had that happen to me domestically and abroad. But and you might get angry about it, or but are you going to be reactive about it? Shout out to you, CLC. Thank you so much for coming in. CLC says, I've tried to get the numbers in my area. They don't add up. The data seems to be manipulated. They are trying to do the shutdown thing in Florida. See, you see what I'm saying? It's like you can't. That's what I'm saying. Just deal with if you deal with your own individual doctor, deal with your GP. I would say GP or whomever else that you work with. I mean, I start with them. Start with your GP. And Dr. Erickson, I think Dr. Erickson came out, I think last month or the month before last, and said that, you know, urgent care, they had people that volunteered to come in and be tested. That they didn't really, that was the wave. And some people have stayed away because they didn't want to come around. They didn't want to be exposed to the numbers of people, because, you know, we were all told that all the hospitals were at the max. And then all the hospitals were at the max. But then, you know, many people were finding hospitals and, you know, finding parking lots empty. I think people were avoiding going in. I know you have places that are set up. I can tell you for one, like on the base, for example, of course, they had something kind of like a mini triage set up outside of ER, and they had a tent set up, and people on one end were doing triage. The other people were they were being admitted. They had a whole separate tent for people that were being tested for this corona. So I tell you, it's hard to follow any of this stuff. I mean, but I'm just saying, I would just, I mean, it's just so, I just think that things have been so poorly represented. Like that, I just think that the medical community has really, big pharma and the whole technocratic system has made many people uncomfortable. So many people don't know how to, or not taking them seriously. They don't know how to take them seriously. Even though you have had, of course, we've had deaths. Yes, we have. And who knows what this, you know, what it's going to be. Let's see. So I mean, I haven't really followed. I haven't been following this virus at the same level as before, because it's just it's a rally. It's back and forth every day or every week. And you noticed when nobody has said anything about the protesters or the agitators or the demonstrators or the rioters or the looters. No one has said anything about that being, I haven't heard it. I haven't heard what that effect had on this purported surge. I mean, I've heard all kinds of things since before March. I've heard everything under the sun about the actual test kits being tampered and being contaminated. I have heard everything under the sun. So at this point, I say, you might have to take things into take your health into your own hands, manage it yourself. But check with your doctor is what I would say. It's the best. I mean, that's the best I can offer on that, but not medical advice. I'm not a medical professional. So with that said, I mean, I know I checked with my area and I hear it all the time, but I have to do what's right for me. Individually, we have to do what's right. So with that said, enough of that, because I really think that this whole thing is, I think it's more, because it's like we're going to, I think Trump gave a report on the economy yesterday or the day before. And I think people were not happy with, I think the left, as soon as they hear that, oh, things are actually not doing horribly. Oh my God, we gotta report. We gotta get back on our We got to get Corona back. We got to wait. We got to drive the fear up. So, I mean, many restaurants that were open have already closed their doors, or they weren't open. So there you go on that. So yeah, that's that for those stories. I thank you guys so much for coming in. I really appreciate you guys coming in at the 11th hour on this. Shout out to Old Head Deuce, Rapper 10,000. Shout out to Touchdown Sean. Thank you so much. Shout out to Luciano. Shout out to Crazy Chick Sheena. Thank you guys so much. And I appreciate you guys. Please keep those responses coming. I really appreciate the feedback on that. I think it's going to be an interesting, we might come up with some interesting topics. So yeah, I'm enjoying seeing the engagement. So anything you guys have, because I'm actually going to pull those polls on Saturday night. So by midnight, I will have pulled the polls. In worst case, I might even do a moonlight stream before I pull those polls so that you might realize it. So if you haven't had a chance to engage there, it's still out there for you. If you have the time, or if you are, I don't know if you're taking a boat this weekend around the bay in your area, if you're in regatta races, or if you're going to Mount Rushmore, or if you're going, who knows? I'm not sure if there's air shows. Does anybody know of any air shows coast to coast? I hear you, CLC. Thank you so much for coming in. It's always nice to see you. I'm not sure what's going on, because I think all the bars and some of the areas that usually yield crowds, I think they've started to kind of pull those back. I think they've kind of pulled those back. So I think many people are panicking because they've started the fear factor again. And it's really on the senior community. I think they are really wearing on their psyche with all of this, with this Corona, because I do believe that the senior community I think the seniors are always the most vulnerable community. And I think, but I think that it's not been done very responsibly. And to me, I think that it's a bad precedent that we have, that we can't really, the communication has just been so inconsistent and politicized. So there's that. Shout out to you. Chrysler Imperial H says, I'm staying home and not going to mention the name of it. Not because of that. I just never go out on the major holidays. Shout out to you. CLC says, our town council had a meeting this morning about closing back down tomorrow. People aren't happy. Well, I hear you. So I think we kind of got word of that last week. And now we're starting to see there's bars and things starting to shut down. The Crazy Chick Sheena, she says, same, I'm staying home, barbecue with my husband and kids. Maybe my mom and dad and sister can come over. That's it. Very nice. Well, you guys should enjoy that, yeah, it's just really, I just think it's just bad. We got a lot of evil and a lot of darkness going on. A lot. And, but they'll have no problem with the protesting. And I will tell you this, I think everything happens in 2 months. The cycle, we're on a cycle of things here. Okay, so what are we going to have? 2 months of Corona, then 2 months of protesting, and then what? 2 months back to Corona, and then what? 2 more months of protesting? Is that the rotation right now? 2 truths and a lie kind of formula. And they roll it all up and say, here you go. Shout out to you guys. CLC says, I'm just looking for my earplugs. Crazy Chick Sheena says, it's fake news mixed with the 10% real news. I can see that. I really appreciate you guys for coming in on this segment. And we have almost come to an hour on this particular segment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this segment out in about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to close out in about 5 to 10 minutes. I really appreciate you guys for sharing the beginning of your holiday weekend. And I hope that you guys will take necessary precautions and measures to be vigilant and to be safe wherever you are. And, you know, if you're at home, you would assume that you're safe, but you know what I mean. Just, you know, you have to stay vigilant. And but it's just getting to be so touch and go that I'll tell you, if you go to the this is a bit of an anecdotal for me here. Now I go into the grocery store and I try to give people their space, but I don't like people walking on eggshells around me. But I think people are doing whatever they have to do because so much is being pushed. So much is being pushed in the media. And so many people are hair triggered, and some people have a chip on their shoulders, which nobody can do anything about it except for them individually. And I've said this before, you know, you have to love yourself and you have to work on your own insecurities. And the thing that I find about all of that is, and even when you do that, you're going to find, you might find that when you start to grow by working on yourself, other people are going to just remain the same. They're going to still be in the same place. But this hatred kind of an environment is just something that's festering, and it's easy for some people to default. It's easy for some people to just, you know, by default, somebody else is always responsible. So I don't know. What's happening, I think even worse than that is that, you know, Americans are going to be, it's going to be harder to engage with people. And it's going to be harder to engage with people. And I don't know, I'm not with this whole thing about, you know, wealth redistribution and all this kind of a thing. And I just think it's pretty gross and it's not sustainable. And of course, I said I was going to end in 5 minutes, but maybe I'll end. I would like to bring you something from another source, but I'm not sure. Let's see, how many people do I have still here in the stream? Of course, because you get a very globalist. I want to give you a very globalist view about, I guess, perhaps a systemic racism. And then here's a hypothetical. Have we finally reached a moment of promise and possibility on race? Really? That's an incredible feat, right? So I don't know. I'm not sure if I even want to go down that road right now. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And also, once again, I would like to take an opportunity to shout out the loyal patrons and subscribers. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I appreciate you guys, all of you, loyal subscribers as well as loyal patrons. So here again, if you're looking for live content, creators, live shows, live streams, interviews, whatever you're looking for, you can find it amongst the loyal patrons. Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, the Angel Muniz Variety Show, Definition of Anarchy, Sandy K, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, and a shout out to Cold War Jesus. Thank you guys all so much for all that you do and for you supporting the channel. I really appreciate that, because without you, there is less support for the channel, and there is no channel. So, yeah, so Crazy Chick Sheena, I will say, I think we're dealing more with a class struggle is what we're dealing with. I think there's race. I think it's class. And I've said this, and here again, I'm going into another anecdotal. You know, I've known people of all backgrounds that grew up with less than I had, and I'm sure, but then they became, you know, really wealthy. And I've known that from the black and the white side of things. So I cannot just draw things down to simply saying that. I can never draw anything down to say how anybody becomes wealthy, or that, you know, that I have been in a poverty, more poverty, or my poverty wasn't as, you know, as intense as the next person. I can't say that. I mean, I've known people that didn't have a bed, didn't have a room growing up, that even their underwear were hand-me-downs from the neighbors. I didn't have it that bad. I'm thankful I was blessed not to have it that bad. But there are people like that, and there are doctors and lawyers that had it that bad. But there are things that we can do. There are things that we can do to mitigate conditions and circumstances. I mean, the poverty line is different everywhere, right? One state to state, it's different. And it's a subjectivity. It's very subjective. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me on this brief segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Thank you guys so much. If there's anything else happening, I will be happy to share with you guys. The CLC says, I don't think it has to do with class, but a mindset indoctrination to blame everyone and not take responsibility for your choices and actions. Well, I can see that. I can see that too. I just think that is that particular element of it is. I think that particular element. I think that's, unfortunately, I think it's taught. It's a behavior. I think it's a behavior. I mean, when you say eat the rich, you have a weekend of eat the rich. Well, how do you identify the rich? Just because you see a gated community? Now, I think it's likely that those people have money, but you can't but then you have people that are wealthy that lived more. They live more beyond modest. They don't put their money, their investments into, you know, you can't see their money. I know that too. But Beverly Hills, on the other hand, I mean, and I saw another excerpt of somebody saying that, oh, these people feel like this is their only chance to grab that Louis Vuitton bag. But, you know, part of this is, I think it's bad culture. I think there's bad culture in it. And I do think that you could probably split it a few ways, splitting hairs. You have class, you have an entitlement element, you have a lot of things going on there. It's not bringing us to a good place. But yeah, I did hear somebody say, well, you know, these people feel like this is the only time that they might get that Louis Vuitton bag. Well, I don't have a Louis Vuitton bag. I don't know if Louis Vuitton is the is the measure of success. I'm not willing to risk my life for a Louis Vuitton bag. I've taught kids without running water. I had running water. I think that made me more appreciative of, made me more thankful for what I had. And then I know people that, you know, they have more than that. But the thing is, I'm saying I have never been, I don't think I won't say never, but I have also not been, I think some things come down to jealousy and envy. And I think that's much worse. I think this is just old-fashioned jealousy and envy. Now, whatever comes after jealousy and envy, it's always a crime of passion that comes behind that. Smash and grab, right? What is smashing and grabbing a purse? Is that going to change your life? And certainly, what, California, under 65 grand, that's poverty. Certainly, that's poverty. In Alabama, 20-something thousand, 20-something, 26, 27,000 might put you under the poverty line. In New York, I bet that poverty line is even, who knows? Who knows what that poverty line looks like? Teachers are under the poverty line in most cases, but do we smash and grab things? And teachers are paid. Somebody once said teachers are the most poor. It's one of the poorest professions. It is. It is a noble and modest profession. But you got athletes that are making millions of dollars yelling and screaming they're oppressed. Somebody driving a race car making millions of dollars. He needs somebody to comfort him and rock him. I have never, this whole beta, I need somebody to care about me. Well, really, people don't really have to care about you. They don't. They're not your, if you expect your family to care about you, but you expect people to empathize with you and respect you. But care, when people say, oh, they don't care about me. Well, how much care do you need? Do you care about yourself? So there again, that is my, I'm going on a bit of a rant there. Yeah, but I just think that it just gets a little bit too subjective to assign conditions to everything. There's a reason, but the excuses, excuses for doing the wrong thing, to me, is never going to set well. That's never going to be an excuse. You've had a lot of people, a lot of famous people that came out of abject poverty, a lot. But you also have a culture of rappers and entertainers telling you you're oppressed, but they want you to stay home so you can stay poor. Let me tell you how to stay poor. Let me tell you how oppressed you are. See, now I'm going into the Sharptons and all of these people. They are just a big mouthpiece, a part of the, and what is he a reverend of? He's a reverend of propaganda. He's a propaganda ministry. I'll give him that. Propaganda minister, you got it. But he's divisive, and he seems to end up on everybody's eulogy. Some of the things that they were doing on George Floyd's eulogy, I believe I saw some of the same shenanigans happening on the late Aretha Franklin, and she's not even a victim of anything. But they get up there and they make they turn it into a political rally. They give this gossip rag eulogy. Yeah, I heard. Yeah, he is what that's. He was exposed a long time ago for being derelict on his taxes. I've seen him getting in a private jet, like just. But like I said, nothing. There's nothing new under the sun. We had the Malcolm X's. We had people from the '60s to give us warnings. They left us with words and they left us with lessons. And what are we learning from those? We're not. I just think that this whole white liberal think reform, laced with Marxism, that's not it. That's not the way. Smash and grab is not the way. But like I said, I do believe that the agenda of BLM, that's going to go into full circuit because you're also starting to see more LGBTQ things are going to start coming up. And that's a part of their affirmations. So with that said, I've already gone over 11 minutes. Thank you guys so much. And I will be dropping the Patreon link in the stream for you guys. Just take a look around. I'll be adding some more things to Patreon. You talking about that ambulance chaser? We got ambulance chasers. That what's his name? Crumb. Yeah, and see, he probably does these things pretty quid pro quo or whatever. Of course he says, okay, I'll do your case. I won't charge you anything, but he's got so many affiliates and he knows he's going to kick back so much on the publicity and between the networks and, yeah, I'll take your case. Sure, I'll take your case for free. I care about you. And then probably Al Sharpton's probably sitting on the phone at the same time. But in all seriousness, if I might digress, that at least Trump called this parent, this Mr. Anderson. And I really do. And I'm wondering if that's going to fade out with if there's going to be no, I think there needs to be serious recourse and serious consequence, because I do believe the mayor of Seattle and that police chief are absolutely incompetent and they need to be recalled or impeached, whatever the law permits under that. Without a doubt, CLC. So I really, but they can't break rank because they support BLM. They support BLM, so of course they can't say anything because what it might incriminate or it might implicate them but the police chief said, oh, well, BLM has already said that they didn't have anything to do with it. Oh, CLC says she remembers in the 60s, the sit-in, bring back our soldiers back from Vietnam. And there were blacks, whites, Asians. See, bring back is always code for something nefarious. I'm sorry to say. It seems to be a common denominator. You guys remember Bring Back Our Girls? You'd be amazed at what happened, what that was all about. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. I really appreciate it. So I will see you guys later, and take care. Have a safe rest of your weekend. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And please don't forget, the poll closes at midnight on Monday at midnight. It's gonna be your midnight Sunday night. So no, it's gonna be the midnight preceding Monday. And it's because I'm on the Pacific Standard Time. I will put out a couple of reminders, and thank you guys for the ones of you that have already participated. I thank you guys so much for your input, and that's actually going to be very valuable in what we're going to be doing on the show. Thank you so much, Crazy Chick Sheena. I really appreciate you guys, and you guys take care, and I'll see you guys next time.